In this video, you'll get an introduction to Camera Raw, where you'll learn how to crop, straighten, and resize images. We'll use Camera Raw to make most of our development decisions in Photoshop. In fact, Adobe has a separate product that they call Lightroom, which is nothing more than Camera Raw. Lightroom actually has a darker interface, but the functionality is exactly the same as what we find in Camera Raw, which is part of Photoshop CC. RAW photos are raw sensor data captured directly by the camera's light sensor, and you'll have to look for a prosumer or professional level camera if you want to save RAW files. Most consumer level cameras save photos in the JPEG format. JPEGs are great because they're small, but the JPEG format is lossy, which means that you lose a lot of the actual information that was captured by the light sensor, and this information is discarded in the camera hardware. You'll get much better results if you go for a camera that does support a RAW format. And there is no one RAW format, there are many, because each camera manufacturer makes a different proprietary RAW format. The photos that you see here in the Chapter 2 folder in Bridge are Canon's proprietary format, CR2. Please double-click on the 1187 RAW file, and that will open it in Camera Raw. This is a separate dialog box that is between Bridge and Photoshop, if you will. This is the development environment, and you can make it go full screen by clicking this button or by pressing the F key. Now up here, let's use the Straighten tool in this image. Notice that the cursor has this symbol, and it's hard to determine where the pointer is. In Camera Raw and in Photoshop, you can press the caps lock key to get the precise cursor. In this case, it's a crosshair, which allows you to easily see where the pointer is. It's at the intersection of those lines. So drag down along this edge, and that will automatically create a crop window that is parallel to that line that you draw. Incidentally, you can also drag along horizontal edges, and it will give you the same effect. You can resize the crop window, of course, and you can constrain it to a specific aspect ratio by holding down the cursor here on this button and accessing the flyout menu. Choose 3:4, and then resize the window, and then drag it around until you can capture the top of the tower and the bottom of this column. When you're satisfied with the crop, press the return key, and if you ever want to go back and change your cropping decisions, you can. You just click on the crop tool, and you'll see that those original pixels are still there. So I can change this a little bit and press enter again or return, and it fills the screen. The next thing we need to do is click down here on this hyperlink to open the workflow options. Here we can choose the color space of the image. I'll choose ProPhoto. And over here you select the bit depth. I'll downsample it to 8 bits per channel, and I'd like to output this as a web graphic ultimately. So I'll resize it to fit. Choose long side and type in 1200 pixels. I'll use a resolution of 72 pixels per inch, and I'll sharpen it for the screen with a standard amount. OK. You can zoom out here and see the image. It's a little bit larger than this interface at 100%. Finally, click Open Image, and the image appears in Photoshop. This time, let's open the other RAW file directly from Photoshop itself without having to go back to Bridge. Choose File Open, and select the 1238 file. Before we open it, notice that we now have an XMP file here with the same name as the original photo. The XMP file actually contains all of the decisions that we made there in the Camera Raw interface. The original sensor data is never harmed. It's like having a digital negative, if you will. So select the 1238 image and open it in Camera Raw. and then crop this image about like that. Now in this case, I think we see too much of this lower area, and I'd like to change the aspect ratio to 9:16. And then position it just so. You can hold down the Option key and resize the window from the center if you like. The settings that we put in last time down here are sticky. That means they stay the same until you change them. Click Open Image, and the image appears here in Photoshop, ready for additional manipulation. So in this video, you got an introduction to Camera Raw, and you learned how to crop, straighten, and resize images.